Good afternoon, everyone. I have a guest in studio. Her name is Marj Albright, and she represents the League of Women Voters. And we've asked her to come in today to talk about our upcoming election here in town and our lack of candidates, right?
Yeah, it's concerning for the League. We'd love to have competitive races.
So before we get into that, why don't you tell people at home a little bit about the League of Women Voters, because I'm certain there's somebody out there who doesn't know what you do and what you stand for. And
I've been with the League a couple of years now, and mostly I'm focused on local issues. But the League is much bigger than that. And I recommend that people go to the League of Women Voters Massachusetts website. It has a really good history, and it also explains what the League is about, what our mission is, but also how we, as a group, as a body, come up with consensus on issues. And that's really cool. Somebody proposes something, and then we have to meet in small groups and discuss all the issues, and then vote on whether or not we're going to support that issue. So if you want to be a participant in the League, you should know those things and know that we really are active. We also lobby at the state capitol for the issues that we are supporting.
so Senator Moore and Mr. Meridian know you well then.
You bet. Probably not as much as I'd like. Our local league, as many organizations, you need a critical mass, and it wouldn't hurt us to enlarge our critical mass. And one of the concerns that you have about increasing the mass is how people perceive your group. And we're not a junior league. We're not some, highfalutin, the upper class of, we're everybody, and we represent everybody, and that is consistent with the idea of everybody voting. And that's what brought us into existence, was women's vote. So everybody's included. We would love to have your membership. That's easy to do. You can even go to our local Facebook page. In the last couple of years, we've joined with Shrewsbury, again, to have more of a critical mass and more ideas. And that has worked out fairly well. That's a good idea. So locally, some of the things that we have, in my tenure, worked on was a plastic bag ban. We were big on that. That was fun. I loved it. There are other environmental issues that I personally would like to do, and we can talk about that more later. But the thing that the local league does very regularly is support local elections. And we do that by running a workshop on running for office, where we have a panel of elected officials who will meet with potential candidates and discuss whatever comes up about the process of running for office. It's really cool, and I thank the current elected officers who are so generous with their time in doing that. We also have a guidebook on how to run for office. And then we do a candidates night, which is what most people in town know us for. But we have to have contested.
In order to do that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why we ended up here in front of the cameras.
That's why we're here.
Right, because if I remember correctly, your email was, we don't have any races, and what do we do with ourselves, kind of thing. And so, yeah, how does one convince somebody that they should take part in local elections?
Well, my observation and other people's knowledge is that before you run for elected, you serve on a board or committee, a volunteer, not elected position. And that's pretty easy to do, and it is an enriching experience. It takes time and commitment.
Sure.
But it's worth it. Now, I've never done that, and I've never run for elected office. I'm just a citizen, so I can't speak to that as much as I'd like. But I would like to get ideas on how to get more people involved in those committees. And if this past year has been really tough, because you just can't go walk in and sit in on meetings. All the meetings are posted, the members are posted, all of that. The town has a website, all of that information is there. But in order for me to get a better handle on what the league might be doing, I would personally like to go sit on some of those meetings. I'm so impressed by the number of people that commit to the town. But it tends to be the same pool of people.
Sure.
So how do we enlarge that pool?
Right. So here's what just popped into my head. Does the league approach people and ask them to participate?
No,
Okay. Is that outside your scope?
no,
Okay.
we could do that.
Yep.
We could do, yeah. We
Because
should,
because I think sometimes if you just ask, sometimes people just want to be asked, and then some people just need a little bit of a nudge or a push. And I mean, what's the worst they could say? They say no. I mean, we're already at that level now, so.
yeah, it seems kind of undemocratic for there to be any established way for people to become candidates through some whatever. I'd like to make it more democratic and more broad through the whole population. And we certainly have populations that are not represented by our current elected officials, and I want to make sure that they get better representation along the way too. So asking is an awesome idea.
So another thing I would ask you, and maybe someone at home watching would have the same question, is the League considered to be a bipartisan organization?
Oh boy, we certainly are.
See, that goes a long way too.
There's so many things that you can do, like say voting rights is for our country. It's the democratic way. Our democracy depends on it without having any partisanship at all. Partisanship is for policies, not for how you get things done. Not for the structure of what you're doing.
Right, right. What's a great explanation?
And we like policy.
Right.
I mean, we like people to go out there and do the policy and have the debate. That's why we want more candidates. It all fits together. We can be nonpartisan and also be supportive of there being a variety of people running for office.
So in your experience, having taken part in some of those candidates' nights that we've had up at Town Hall, do you have any fond memories of those evenings, or?
Oh, interesting question. I'm thinking back at fond memories. Fond memories. Again, I am amazed that people come prepared. They come with questions. They have issues that they want the candidates to talk about. That's awesome. I'm not sure that always those are the issues that the general population would like, or if maybe they are, but they're not inclusive of all of the issues that the general population would like.
Okay, all right.
But the other issue, in addition to asking people, is people don't know how government runs. And they don't know what the issues are. And they don't know, we haven't done a good job of educating them on what committees and boards do. What is the responsibility of the moderator? People don't know that the moderator appoints a lot of people.
Right, right.
It's a huge job. So that's, how important is the clerk? How important are the select people?
Sure.
So we need to do more to educate, and that we need to do with the town, not just the League alone. We would like to collaborate with the town. And the town has good things, like how to go to town meeting. There's lots of stuff. I think it may be underutilized. You guys provide a hell of a lot of service here. So, yeah.
And it's funny, because one of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you have a handshake relationship with the town, with the administration in town, or is that something that was let go by the wayside in the past, or is it something that needs to be reestablished, or is it kind of status quo? Where does it lay?
We've had a lot of changes at Town Hall, and in the past I've felt very comfortable walking into the selectman's office, or not selectman's, to the town administrator's office. And everybody there is cooperative and helpful, and I expect that to continue in the future. I'm absolutely supportive of the town administrator's office, and I will establish a new relationship now that we're able to go into offices again.
Right.
And that's where we want to work with them on asking and on education of the population and increasing the sophistication of our voters.
Do you think that a monthly program with a member or members of the League of Women Voters would go a long way to get that word out to the citizens of Grafton?
Perhaps. One of the things that we are attempting to do, and COVID has kind of shut us down, is to have programs and speakers that the league has open to everybody. And certainly our annual potlucks are open, and we want to have more of this. And we have failed in the past. I mean, we've had some really good meetings on ranked choice voting, which the league supports, and we haven't gotten the word out, so we haven't gotten the crowds of people that we need. So we have a long way to go. And one of the problems we have on getting the word out is, how do you get the word out? And we have not good presence with whatever media there is in town, which is why I'm happy to do this, even though I didn't really necessarily plan on doing it.
Right.
But you know, we need to know, the league needs better to know how to communicate with people.
And to touch on that point, oftentimes people will say to me when we discuss coming into the studio to talk about topic X, I usually will get the response, "Oh, I'm not ready for you to drag me outside my comfort zone." And I think that might be part of the issue, is that people have to kind of think outside the box, and it's not just about handing out a flyer. It's, you kind of have to be visible 365 days a year in order to get the word out.
Yeah.
You know, and in today's world, pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, you almost have to be screaming for people's attention because the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. It's a wish on my part, and we've talked about it some with the league, but I wish for student journalism at the high school level, and that we would report. Lacking other kinds of journalism in town, have students do it, and we could work with the league on getting them to put together some kind of a release on issues and whatever, both to build citizens by working with the youth, which is very much part of what the league wants to do, is more education. And now that there are civics being taught again, we are actively engaged with the civics instructors in town and in Shrewsbury. So that's a wish. It's, you know, you have to state a wish. It may not be practical, but then from that, other ideas may come up.
That's an interesting thought about the journalism piece, because I have a friend, she teaches in Westboro, and one of the things that she does is she teaches a basic journalism course. Some of it is tied in to the TV piece, but yeah, I don't know of a lot of school districts that go down that path.
I expected you to make that connection. Good for you. Yes, you're close to the high school.
Yeah.
And so,
but not that close.
You know, yeah. So we all need to work together to take advantage of our youth and what they're doing and they are engaged. I mean, the youth in this country are so engaged. Yeah. And how do we capitalize on that? That's our challenge.
Sure.
The league's your challenge, is how to put that in a box and get out communications to the whole community.
Right. And we just recently, right here on this very spot, we had a young Cub Scout come in from town who did his Show Us Your Mask PSA that the town has been pushing this campaign. And this young scout, he knew what he was talking about. He knew why you needed to wear a mask. He knew why you should wear it even if you've been vaccinated, and he did a magnificent job. And he was thrilled to do it. And so it seems like that's one of the avenues, like you said, it's working with the youth and getting them involved at an early age. And I think some of us just get very, very comfortable in our little bubbles and just don't want to step outside. But I think you do have to kind of go on a fishing expedition sometimes.
Yeah, and it's a matter of relationships also here with middle school and high school. The middle school, the civics education is being taught still in the middle school. It will eventually, I guess, go to the high school. But we need better relationships with the administration so that they use that resource. And I know that part of the civics curriculum is having to have projects in the community. So there are some opportunities. We've slowed up this past year because of it being more difficult to communicate.
Before we started the program, you were also talking about the environmental
Oh, yeah,
things that you like to support?
I started out by saying that the League has a lot of things that I'm very much into, but then I go beyond what the League is doing with my own issues. And we have a lovely property, as many people in Grafton do. We have such a luxury, such a privilege to live in the kind of semi-rural area that we do. So we're big vegetable gardeners, and that's what our main thing is vegetables. And trying to keep the deer and the woodchucks and everybody else away and feeding birds. But I'm also kind of a native plant freak. And one of the things that we've discovered is that any native plant we have gets a heck of a lot more birds. It's just phenomenal how it increases the bird population. And there are people who have scholars who have written books and proposed things. And there are statistics, and I'm not prepared for all of them, but something like 85% of the land in this country is privately held. You know, we talk about the great idea that we're national parks. Well, how about if we reduce our lawns by 50% and make them with natural plants, and we have our homegrown national parks? That's not my phrase. I'm taking that from some other people. I think that's a great idea, and I'd love to get an organization within Grafton that communicates with each other on how to do that. The first thing you have to do is get rid of the invasive plants, which is incredibly difficult. I don't know if you know about gardening and invasive plants.
I know very little.
Well, I won't do invasive plant 101, but there are local organizations, or Massachusetts organizations, that are very supportive of native plants. Mass Horticultural Society is one of them, and they do a good job. I love Garden in the Woods. You wouldn't believe how many things are blooming there now. So anyhow.
And that's in Framingham?
Framingham.
Yep.
Yep. And you can get a pass from the local library.
Right.
So it's all good.
Yep. And Beth likes to push those passes.
Oh, yes. And I support Beth on that.
So you're not talking about just somebody planting a vegetable garden. You're talking about
changing
beyond that.
Something like 80 or 90% of the plants that are planted in your yard in beautiful Grafton are not native to this country. They are horticultural plants, and they support no insects and therefore no birds. Did you know that chickadees only feed caterpillar to their young?
I did not know that.
Well, that's it. We need to educate on this whole thing.
Right.
And in order for there to be caterpillars, there have to be host plants. And this doesn't mean that they're all defoliated. It isn't like gypsy moth. This is a normal kind of thing. And even, oh God, I'm on my soapbox now. Even plants like the ginkgo tree, which has been in this country for 100 years, does not support the insect life that supports the bird.
I see.
Because they haven't evolved together. Ginkgos are from another country. So all of those pretty plants, and there are native comparables. That's the thing that you have to seek out and figure out how to get them, and then how to get it to be managed in your property.
Wow. I think it's interesting how you tied in citizens' participation in local elections and the quality of life that comes from that, and the quality of life with removing invasive species and going back to things that will help the environment. And I never would have made that connection unless you'd brought it up.
It is all quality of life. Local government, to my mind and to many other people, is more important than state government or national government. It's what keeps our roads going, our schools going, our water systems. It is huge. And so I'm willing to participate, not as an elected official, but as somebody who's helping to get people as elected officials. Not everybody needs to be elected official.
Yeah. No, that's true. There's no room for everybody, first of all, but just a few people. We just need a few people to step up.
But if you're going to get elected, also go for native plants.
I want to give you a minute to share contact information with the viewers at home about the League of Women Voters or any other topics that might come to mind. And in order to do that and look people in the eye, you're going to look over there.
Okay. It's pretty easy to go online and look up League of Women Voters, Massachusetts, and you'll get the website. Your Google search, they're so good at doing that. And you can also go to our local Facebook page, which is a little bit more awkward. You have to go to Grafton League of Women Voters, and it doesn't come up quite as well, but there's information there. And that will tell you, the local will tell you what events we have going on. But you really should go to the Mass one to find out what it is, the scope of what the League of Women Voters does, because it's broad and it's good and it's nonpartisan. And we need a lot of people to know that that's a resource.
Perfect. My guest in studio today has been Marj Albright. She is a member of the League of Women Voters. And clearly, she and we need your help. So please, in the future, consider running for elected office. Reach out to the League of Women Voters, and I'm sure they have lots of ideas on how to help you achieve your goal. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. On behalf of everyone here at Grafton Community Television, thank you for watching. I'm Bob DeToma. And we're done.